people do like a DSLR and
Yep.
have like the full setup. But nobody makes like a high quality kind of like plug and play webcam like that.
Yeah.
So they were complaining about that, how like to achieve that quality, you have to have this like complicated setup, and nobody's scratched that itch yet.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of people that have like all these hacks of like doing backgrounds and then running it through OBS and like, but it's not as simple as a couple options in Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
I did find the new avatars in Zoom. They're
Oh
like
God.
the emojis on your iPhone.
Yeah, the avatars for animals or
Yeah,
cartoon
so you
animals
can
the new reactions are animated. Not
yeah,
only
so
to
if
show
you
that
go
you're
into your Zoom
recording, but
settings.
like you can celebrate like that.
Right.
So it is the SEC Growth Data Science staff meeting for January 25th or January 26th for those in APAC. There you go, Jay. That's funny. I was in a meeting where somebody had their child on their lap during the call, and everybody, without saying anything, slowly transitioned to using those and started like waving like this back and forth to see if they could make, I forget whose child it was. I think it was Tim's
Mm-hmm.
Ullman's, like smile. And it, so anyway, let's see where to get started today. Thomas, looks like you've got the first item in celebrations.
Yep. As I was also in that meeting, it was lovely. So just to say, it was a lovely moment. In any case, to the agenda. So this was previously announced in Slack, but we had 3 pretty big work anniversaries that happened in the past week. So congrats to Fabian and Olivier for 5 years each as founding members of the Secure stage. So we've been here that long, and then Isaac for 3 years. So congrats to the 3 of them, and glad y'all are here. Over Seth.
Yeah, happy Australia Day.
Australia Day. We don't have any Australians on right now.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
exactly.
guess, Nathan, you might, or well, we have 2 New Zealanders, though, 2 Kiwis, though, adopted or original. Do you happen to know what Australia Day is?
Yes, yeah, we do know what Australia Day is, but yeah, don't partake. It's that good rivalry between us, but yeah.
So what is Australia Day? I'm just curious.
Well, Australia Day is just their sort of national day to celebrate and have a public holiday.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think.
Is there an equivalent in New Zealand, or what would the equivalent be in New Zealand, perhaps?
Yeah, we've got Waitangi Day, which comes up in Feb, and I guess it would be similar to what's the American holiday with the
Independence Day, maybe?
The closest would be like Independence Day, but it's not quite the same because it's a treaty between the Europeans and the Maori.
Cool. Thanks for bringing it up, Seth. It was nice to take a tangent on things like this to learn something new. News and events number 1, I've got OKRs are now done in GitLab versus Ally. Yay, a big win for usability, collaboration, and dogfooding. So in big rocks and hot issues, looking for different volunteers maybe to verbalize A and B. I put them in there, but be great to hear from others too.
Yeah, I'll take it. From Christopher's staff meeting, let's see. FYI on the Ruby 3 upgrade, we're currently asking teams to perform exploratory testing on an environment that is using Ruby 3 by Jan 31. While we do have a green pipeline running on Ruby 3, this is to catch things that may not be adequately covered in our test suite. Most EMs have checked the box or acknowledged they are looking into it, so this is mainly for visibility. But if you notice anyone on the list who may not have seen it, we'd greatly appreciate some help following up. This issue contains a timeline that is being regularly updated. Has anybody found any snags associated with the Ruby 3 testing? Any EMs here?
We had an engineer go through it pretty extensively, the DAS functionality, and everything seemed pretty good.
Good to hear. Somebody else want to volunteer to verbalize B?
I can take that one. So also from Christopher, there is an exercise we need to perform that will be labor intensive if we don't distribute it. Essentially what it is we need to review a subset of MRs for fiscal year 23 to make sure the type labeling was correct. More specifically around feature work, where we could use the help. If you are an EM or above and want to get the word out, we are choosing testers, reviewers for this exercise based on who merged. It's about 188 folks on this list. If you're an individual contributor and want to help out or are willing to take on some of the reviews, that would also be greatly appreciated. I think right now, Christopher is doing the testing or doing some testing, would like to distribute the work and make sure that nobody spends more than 1 to 2 hours on this. Seth, you had a comment?
Yeah, Wayne or anyone, I don't know if anyone has any more insight as to why we're doing this or how these labels are being used for finance. I'm just more curious. It asks us to do this, but it doesn't say why. My guess is it's for accounting, R&D versus COGS, but I wasn't sure.
I'm looking for the animated response on Zoom that goes like this, but there doesn't seem to be one. I actually don't know. Maybe add to the issue. Unless anybody else knows.
I don't remember if it was specific to those accounting definitions, R&D versus COGS, but I think what you're asking is correct. I remember that from Tuesday staff meeting that it was like, are we doing accurate accounting for percentage of work that's featured versus maintenance versus bugs and so forth? So I'm going to go hunting for the canonical answers. I think I've seen it.
Just also one of the reasons that's really good to know is if that's a finance concern, it drives us to make sure that it's even more accurate when those labels go in. Versus like, oh, we're just kind of curious as to what percentage people are spending versus like we need to get it, within a certain accuracy. I think knowing that it's important will help us drive that. Yes,
and I'm looking for the overall trends. So like, don't spend too much time on like, is it a bug or is it a feature? If you spend more than a minute or two thinking about that, you've spent too long because it averages out over time. But good point. We want to make it as accurate as possible. Maybe time box the thinking about it. So so it doesn't go off into the outlier on time.
I feel like most of the work that falls in the engineering allocation, I usually always label as maintenance. Do y'all find that as well, or do you do a lot of like feature development outside of product?
Sorry, say that again.
Most of the work that I assign, like the issues that I create, are all, I often throw type maintenance on it. It's like very rarely like a brand new feature. I'm wondering if you find that similarly, or if you're assigning a lot of new feature work often.
At least for static analysis, I think the gearing ratio, like about 60% feature work. I'm bad at this. 60, 30, 10 was it? 30% maintenance, 10% bugs. I think that kind of sticks to be true, but I think we've been more on maintenance recently, as Thomas is shaking his head.
But Jay, in terms of as a general rule for us, like if engineering is initiating the work, it tends to be bugs or maintenance. If product is initiating the work, it tends to be features. There's obviously some exceptions to that where an engineer's got a great idea and product signs off on it, then that would be a feature. But as a general rule, whoever initiates the work tends to fit it into a category.
That spawned a great conversation. Great. Glad you asked, Jay. Thomas, looks like you found the why.
Yep, did find the why, or at least the why is articulated from Christopher's staff meeting. You've got a link straight to the thread in that agenda. If folks want to, it's open within GitLab itself, and so I copied and pasted straight from that section. And it is a sample review. It's not reviewing every single MR that's been put up by development over a period of time, because that would be quite a lot.
So next in big rocks and hot issues, that section we have. My updated, still draft OKRs are available in this link. When we're done, we'll go back and revisit this and go to a private recording, since I think some of them are confidential. I want to mention, probably because, the ones shared with PM and the ones that roll up to my boss, Christopher, are not finalized yet. They may need to continue to change. They may continue to change based on that and further iteration, collaboration on them in general. I think we're in good shape on putting them together, but they're not final yet. So at the end, we'll go to a private recording and share those and talk through them live. Thomas, looks like you've got the next item.
Yep. All right. FedRAMP is the saga continues. So we'll call this FedRAMP episode 6, the return of the assessments. But anyway, I'll figure out a better title for it later. The next milestone we're going after is called the SAR, or a security assessment report. And one of the things that all groups are being asked to validate is for issues with the relevant label, which is, and you'll see it because it's the only one with SAR related to it, and it's scoped to FedRAMP itself. Should they be part of the scope? And if so, can we get a rough estimate for it? I found there are 5 issues in SEC, there are none in growth, there are none in data science. 4 of which I question whether or not they should be in scope. So I've pinged in EMs and PMs related to those issues. My request is, everybody, if you get it, please get that done this week. If you can, just like, should it be in scope? The remaining issue is one that's it looks like it's on its way to being completed. So, and this is not for delivery. This is estimation. Like, should it be in scope and rough t-shirt size swag, if you could.
I love how important this is. And then at the bottom of the list, we have like an issue talking about bouncy castle.
Yeah, and that's the one that's going to be done.
Right.
Okay, so that's actually a library that we're using to test for it. Are they using TLS connections to the target itself? So yes, we are using Bouncy Castle to bounce around different type of connection protocols. So yep.
Nate, you want to verbalize your comment as well?
Yeah, sure. So I was just going to ask, is there a time frame on the, or expectation on the time frames? And you answered it while you were talking to Thomas about trying to get it through this week. Because I noticed that compliance has 2 at the top there. Yeah,
there's 2, and I don't know if they're actually yours. It looks like Connor put them on for compliance, for lack of a better group to put it on. So once again, I question scope, or if there's a compensating control from like security or infrastructure for this.
Yes, this is an interesting topic for us with audit events being across the whole product. Are we actually responsible for the audit events or just the system behind it? So anyway, I'll go through that.
Thank you, sir.
I think that's everything on the public agenda. I'm going to switch to a private recording.